Hey everybody, welcome to the Derek Jeter podcast, meaning we are probably really good, but an argument can be made that our stats are overinflated, and we basically suck. I'm Jim Burtis, and we have a great show today as we bring you some of their top stories in the sports world, while at the same time giving you our outlandish opinions. Tom, tell the people who you are and what our first topic is today.
Really wish I would have prepared. I completely forgot it goes into me. All right. Hey everybody, I am Dominic Moore, and hopefully if you are listening to this, you've already checked out our other podcast, IHB Movies, or read some of our many articles that can be found on our website, www.ihbpodcast.com. But on to today's topics. Have the withdrawals started to set in for you football junkies yet? The NFL season came to a close with Super Bowl 50, as the Denver Broncos defeated the Carolina Panthers 24-10. The game ended with multiple storylines, ranging from where the Broncos' defense ranked all time to Peyton Manning's final ride, and then ultimately for Cam Newton's shortcomings both on the field and off. And then, of course, there's always the boring halftime show. Jim, what are your takeaways from the game?
Oh, I think Cam Newton is besides Peyton Manning, obviously, I think he hangs it up after a not-so-great performance, but and won enough that he gets to hoist the trophy. But I think Cam Newton, I think that's a storyline that's going to be the takeaway. I mean, here's an MVP, and he's walking out of a media scrum after the game, and we're still talking about it a couple days later. So I don't know. I just think it's the view of Peyton Manning and the all-American athlete, poster child, and what athletes should be, the role model athlete. And here's Cam Newton. You would think being a younger guy. And he's nothing like that. So I think, that's something to take away from it.
Exactly. Like, just to go off of what you're saying, where you look at a couple years ago when it was Peyton Manning versus Russell Wilson. Granted, Russell Wilson and Cam Newton are two very different people, two very different players. But look back at what the media days were for that. Like, it was constantly just, Peyton's the man. Peyton's the guy. And giving him utmost respect. And Cam absolutely did that. Cam made a point to say, like, he dropped he's the sheriff on us. Like, that's a great soundbite. That's a great level of admiration that you're showing. But the difference is Russell Wilson being such a humble guy, it's tough when you see a guy like Cam Newton who is, I'm different. I break the mold, kind of like you said. I am the African-American quarterback, and that scares people. And when you put that stuff out there before the game, he didn't play bad because he was going up against a tremendous defense, but it wasn't what people were expecting. And then you had the things where he didn't dive on the fumble, and there were just so many moments that stacked on top of him that it made him look worse. And then you compound that by after the game not wanting to talk to the reporters, being harsh, and then even the few days after coming out and saying what he did in the press conference, where he's like, "You show me a good loser, and I'm going to show you a loser."
Yeah,
it's true, and to a point, because there are good losers out there, and that's part of being a professional athlete. You take those losses, and you do the coach speak that everybody hates, but it's traditional. It's one of those things where he should have just went out there and been like, "Hey, we lost. I played bad. I'm the reason we lost. He's the quarterback. He's supposed to take all that on." And then through that, then he can get aggressive. Then he can still be cocky at that point. He can be like, "I'm the reason we lost, but I can guarantee you this. We're a better team than Denver. Congratulations to them. They absolutely deserve to win today. But we're the better team, and we're coming back."
Exactly.
Like, if you do that, then none of this is there. You're going to get the hate because, he's just another cocky quarterback, like, young kid, doesn't know what he's saying. But there's going to be a whole lot more people out there who respect him for doing that, as opposed to the way he comes off now, which is whiny and like, "Man, like, you guys are all just saying this stuff on me. Like, who's to say you're right?" That's not the way you handle it. That's not the way a professional quarterback should do it.
Exactly. I think he'll learn from it too. I mean, he's young, and he'll over time he'll look back a year from now, and who knows? There's no reason why Carolina can't get back, to the big dance, next year and stuff. But I think it was, a couple years ago too. I mean, I think it's easy to forget, but I found out that I think Peyton Manning walked off the field back when he lost to the one of the Super Bowls.
I think it was the Saints.
The Saints,
Yeah.
yes. He walked off, did not shake any hands after.
Yeah.
So that's what people forget too, But the thing is, Peyton's got 2 Super Bowls, and I think Cam. There's no reason why he can't get a ring. But I mean, I think to better prepare himself to not maybe, I know they had a lot of momentum going in, but maybe just be humble, be that Russell Wilson type guy going forward, and it's not going to hurt you in the end. That's the thing. You're going to want to be remembered as a champion more than all this. And if he wins and he does that, all this stuff will go away. That's as simple as that.
Yeah. There's a reason why Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, those greats, they've never given a decent sound clip in their lives, because it's all just, hey, this guy's great. He's going to do great things. He's a hell of a player. Like, we're not really playing. I'm not playing against him. He's not playing against me. I'm playing against that defense. That's all they say. Chris, what are your opinions on it? On either Cam Newton's attitude or the game in general?
I think that when Carolina went into the game, that it was their first, for a lot of the players, it was their first Super Bowl for the, the Panthers organization. So, well, yeah.
Yeah, since it's been a
Cam,
number of years. Yeah.
And with them going there, I think that they may have gone in with a lot of nerves, because they are a good team. They only lost 2 games this season, the Super Bowl being one and Arizona being the other one in late December. And I think maybe nerves played a part of it. And
absolutely, you could tell Cam was nervous early on. He sent more than 1 or 2 throws high on people, and he was just trying to bullet it in there. So
and that Broncos defense is tough too.
They are. I mean, you got a future Hall of Famer and DeMarcus Ware on one side. You got a young phenom. That was another storyline, actually, that I thought was intriguing, because it didn't cross my mind until the Super Bowl actually started, was Von Miller was the number 2 pick the year Cam was drafted number 1. So that was intriguing to me, because that's one of those aspects where, Cam versus Peyton, they've got nothing really in common. They're just both happen to be really good quarterbacks. But then when you get 2 guys who are drafted the same year going against each other, that's a completely different thing. That's actually me against him. And Von Miller won it. That's why he's the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's really cool. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
The 1 and 2. I mean,
yeah, I can't take credit for that. I have to give that to whoever Phil Simms and whoever was announcing the game. They threw it out there. I was like, oh, what do you know? That's totally true.
That's the thing. Well, Peyton, obviously, is going to be a storyline before Miller, but I think it's good. I think Miller, he started. There's no reason why he shouldn't have been the MVP of that game. I mean, I know there was talk, Peyton, maybe give him on his way out, but no way. Von Miller. I mean, there's an A&M boy right there who's making a lot of people in Cleveland forget about that other A&M boy in town for a little bit. A little bit. But.
Speaking of in town, if Von Miller doesn't get that second strip sack, TJ Ward is maybe the MVP, former Cleveland Brown, because he had an interception, a fumble recovery, and a sack in the game, in addition to however many tackles.
Didn't Von Miller have 2 touchdowns?
No, he forced the first touchdown of the game, on that sack where he just basically bear hugged the ball. He didn't even really tackle Cam. He just was like, "This is mine," rips it out, and then somebody else recovered it, Jackson or something like that, I think, but one of the defensive linemen. But yeah, a couple other takeaways that I had. Super Bowl. There's all the controversy with Beyonce and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into that. That's not my place. That's not what this show is about. Maybe if some point we get into the IHB politics game, which is unlikely. Although if Trump wins, then who knows?
Oh, holy hell, break loose.
Yeah, but then Coldplay I thought was awful. Coldplay was clearly one of those things, they were the opening act where literally the guy started singing. And then, okay, now we're going to bring in the heavy hitters with Bruno Mars and Beyonce.
You guys take it over.
Exactly. So, but didn't really enjoy that.
I think they've really, not to get off topic of, sports, but I think that the halftime shows, recently, in the past couple of years, have just been so god-awful.
I thought Bruno Mars was good when he did his.
Bad thing is that song's from 2 years ago.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting at. Dude, bring something else to the table.
Yeah, no, that's a solid
I'll watch it, but just Give me something else.
Yeah, that and like if you look at like you know how like this year they were looking at all the previous people who have performed like over the years and stuff. Like before they were like little 20-minute concerts or whatever. Now it's just like bunch of mixed garbage.
It is. I mean,
big flowers flying in the field and
I did like the historic.
Yeah, no, that was fun
for the minute or whatever 2 minutes it was. That was good.
Yeah.
But
I won't lie. It's at one point I got excited because like they went to the full screen view of Bruce Springsteen. I was like, oh, they got Bruce Springsteen. And they're like, oh no, just a video clip. I was like, that would have been cool. Like if they brought Bruce Springsteen in with those guys, I would have really enjoyed that. But yeah. Last two things. Let's talk about Peyton leaving. We've commented on it so far. What do you guys think? You think he's done, or you think he's coming back?
I think he's done. If he comes back, he's not going to have another year like this. No way.
I doubt it, but
the defense was the glue to that team.
Absolutely, like
that's the reason why they got to the Super Bowl. Look at even during the year, they took Peyton out as quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy wears a glove on his throwing hand because he has no feeling in that hand.
Mm-hmm.
He can't grip the ball. He's done.
I think, yeah. I mean, you got to hang it up while you're on top. I mean,
go out with a win.
There's no why risk injury. Why I don't know. I think he's done in Denver. That's the thing. I mean, what's he going to go to L.A. The be the poster boy there for what?
That's what because if he stays with Denver, it's going to cost Denver like $19 million.
The thing, what else? You got nothing else to prove.
Yeah,
just go out on top. Do your Papa John's commercial still. That's okay. You can have some pizza.
Greatest commercial of the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning saying, "I'm gonna go drink Budweiser."
Oh,
that was the best one.
Was
like
the best.
I didn't like any of the commercials.
And he didn't
really
get paid to say that.
No, that's amazing.
I'd want to drink with him.
Exactly. Like it's one of those things where like I don't know why I always thought that because Peyton is a good old boy. Like he's from he went to school in Tennessee, from Mississippi, and all that. So I always pictured him having a little bit more refined taste. But then, like, this is the second time. This is the first time he's mentioned Budweiser, but the second time he's been like, "I'm gonna go drink a lot of beer." Like, so that's something to look for. That I liked. That was a highlight of the Super Bowl for me.
For those of you who are not aware, Kobe Bryant has announced that this will be his final season, and as a result, the farewell tour is well underway, including Kobe's final stop in Cleveland just a short time ago. Dom, what are your lasting memories of Kobe?
Kobe. What's to say? I grew up tail end of Jordan era, and just mainly like when I was focusing on the NBA, it was Kobe's prime. Like back when he was doing the 81 days, and the one he scored was it 61 or 62, 63, something like that, and like a 3-week span, he was just going off when he went off in the Garden and stuff like that. When he had his only MVP year, it's gonna be sad to see him go, and I'm going to miss seeing that type of scorer again, because right now it's Steph Curry, obviously it's Russell Westbrook. He's a scorer, but he's just more that versatile player. Just to see somebody that fluid at scoring was mesmerizing to me, especially because like he didn't have that great 3-point shot that like Steph Curry does. So when Steph Curry puts up 51, it's a little different than when Kobe was putting up 51, because Kobe's getting those mid-range jumpers, the cutting to the basket. So I'm going to be sad to see that kind of game go away. It's 2 years too late, obviously, because the guy hasn't been able to stay on the court for 2 years. And then this year, is there anything worse than them in the second worst record in the league? Like, it's unimaginable that Kobe would have that kind of level. But I'll remember the championships. I'll remember those high-scoring games. But then there's the bad stuff. I'll remember the feud with Kobe and the rape case and the sexual assault. And that's something for a lot of fans he's never going to be able to escape. That's a stigma, and whether you think he's guilty or whether you think he's innocent, it's a mark on that permanent record that some people aren't ever going to forget. But that's not for me to decide. The courts cleared him or whatever you want to say. So I'm going to try to focus on him as a basketball player, not as a human being. As weird as that sounds, because most of the time you don't want to think of somebody not as a human being. But I'm going to focus on the entertainment he brought. Whether he gets into coaching or a front office position, I don't personally want to see that because I think he's going to be bad. I don't think his level of intensity can transfer nowadays to these players. And he saw that when working with Dwight Howard or other big-time superstars. It rubbed them the wrong way. They couldn't put up with Kobe's work ethic and his need for them to do better. So it's going to be nice to see him just kind of fade out into the oblivion, and we'll see him at a couple of All-Star games doing the Rising Stars thing or whatever that thing is, where they bring in an old-timer, a WNBA player, and a current player, and hopefully he can get a couple of decent shots there. But aside from that, I'm ready for him to get off the court.
Yeah, it's almost like what we said with Peyton. I mean, the bad thing is, that's why Peyton should hang it up now, is because look what Kobe's doing. I mean, that's the thing. It's sad in a way that, Lakers aren't competing, at this being his final year, but you're talking about an 18-time All-Star, and, I remember the days of him and Shaq, being together, that I also was too young to remember the Jordan, Pippen, that duo, but I did, really kind of get into the Shaq and Kobe. That was the two that
like our Jordan exactly. was like final championship era. Like you might I remember parts of it, and then the returning Wizards Jordan. Like that was the Jordan I remember.
Same thing. Yeah, that's why I think Kobe and Shaq, those were the two that put him on the map. At 5-time champion. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, it is sad to see him go, but he had great years, and like you said, I think people might still remember those bad days, the whole rape stuff. But he's one of the best players of all time. I mean, and he has rings to prove it. But should be interesting to see what other how the Lakers are going to do with that. Yeah, move forward exactly.
Because they have Russell, who hasn't been playing well this year. Like he I bet you they're kicking themselves now for not taking Porzingis. But I've heard a lot of reports that the front office and the coaching staff has told Russell, like, hey, throw away this year because it's cleaned out next year. Like there's going to be a huge turnover in the roster. They're going to free up so much money because of Kobe. The entire coaching staff is probably going to get fired. So I've heard that they've told Russell, like, hey, don't freak out about this year. But Chris, what are your thoughts?
I think it's the farewell tour that Kobe's doing. It's pretty cool. That like everybody, everywhere that he goes, he like, it's not like it's just like your last time to see him play. Like he brings the crowd into the games. Like I don't know if you've seen like any of the Sports Center updates and stuff, but like, like he'll be like waving to the crowds or like stuff like that. He'll like give stuff away as he's like walking out of the tunnels and stuff. I think that's pretty cool. But my favorite Kobe memory is definitely that 81-point game. That's just, I still watch it on YouTube, like just the highlights, and he's just draining buckets every time, left and right. And
that was like 10 years ago now.
Jeez, time flies.
Like I'm looking at this stat right here. 5-time NBA champion, 2000 to 2002, and 2009 to 2010. They're all back to back.
Yeah. They did what? They did a three-peat and then back-to-back, yeah.
He was drafted first round, 13th.
Yeah, that's another topic that, it gets talked about, but he's just straight out of high school or a Philly kid. And
you don't see that very often.
No.
Hornets drafted him.
Yeah, traded the rights away for Divac or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. They're kicking him. Well, they don't have a team anymore. But
no, Hornets are back.
What?
Charlotte Hornets.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
they went away.
Yeah.
And then it became the New Orleans Hornets.
Yeah.
And then the Charlotte Bobcats came in the league. And then when the New Orleans Hornets said, hey, we need to rebrand, so they became the Pelicans. And then this year, the Charlotte Bobcats adopted the Charlotte Hornets back.
How much I know.
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. He's our resident baseball expert. Like, check him out on Twitter. He's got, 1,500 followers?
No. 16.
Oh, we're up to
Kidding.
16.
Who cares?
But we can get him to that number. That's
not
the
counting,
important
guys.
thing. I'm absolutely counting. We're in the business of getting people to listen to us, James. Trust me.
Give him the $2,000.
I have 27 followers right now, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Let's get to 30.
Exactly. Last thing on Kobe, though, did you guys see the how he almost was traded straight up for LeBron back in 2007?
Really?
That report, it was a story I think came out today.
I had never heard that. I heard I remember back in the day, there was big reports that he was going to be traded to Chicago right before they won those championships.
Yeah.
Before they got Powell and stuff like that, because Kobe wanted out. He was coming up on a new contract, and people weren't sure if he was going to get one, and he wanted to go to a winner. And back then, I mean, the Bulls have been good for a while now, but this was pre-Rose, but they had Dang back then still, and I think Noah was in his second year or so. So I heard that one, but I had not heard the straight up for LeBron. Imagine how different the world would be.
You know what year that was, too? 2007.
Yeah.
That was the Cavs' first NBA Finals appearance.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, why would the Cavs even do that? It's
But it's one of those things.
With LeBron in his prime? No way.
I don't know. You think we win with... I mean, Kobe
had the experience. I mean, he had the experience then. That's the thing. I mean,
like Kobe did. Kobe needed Shaq. But every player needs somebody. But you can't tell me Powell was a top 5 player in the league at the time. Like, you're telling me that if we had Kobe in Cleveland, we couldn't get another guy like that. And Kobe didn't have much else. Like, he had Metta World Peace or Ron Artest, whatever the hell his name was at the time.
Thing is, maybe Kobe would have attracted. Well, I mean, LeBron was in his prime too. He was going to attract anybody, but maybe Kobe attracts a different guy.
Because I was going to say, do you think that? I don't think that the Cavs would have won if they had Kobe. I don't, because if you look at it in 2007, LeBron was in his prime. Whereas, like, if you look at it now, who's the best player in the league?
Steph Curry.
Yeah. It's not LeBron anymore.
Yeah,
so if you look at it then...
It was 9 years ago now.
Yeah.
6, 7? No, it was what? It's 2007. Yeah.
9
years. 9 years.
9 years ago.
For some reason, because in my head I was thinking about my next point, which is going to be but look at LeBron's last year here when we lost. We don't waste all that money on Shaq. Like,
that's true.
When we had the best record in the league, we won 60 odd games. We don't bother with Shaq if we have Kobe. Maybe we spend that money on somebody else. Maybe Varejao turns into the player that we need him to be or something like that instead of being the same player he's been for 8 years. But anyway, next topic.
Back to the world of football. Every year in the NFL, one team goes from 3-13 or 4-12 to playoff contention. This season it was the Washington Redskins. So Chris, who are you picking for that surprise team next season?
I'm stuck between two. And I've given this a little bit of thought the past couple of minutes.
Only the past couple of minutes?
No, well, whatever. Since we started the podcast here. And we were figuring out who had what points. And my pick is... I really want to say... I'm really torn between two. I'll use your guys' opinions for this. I'm picking either the Tennessee Titans, and I'll explain why, or San Diego, the Chargers. The reason why I picked the Chargers is because they pretty much have a pretty decent team. They have like those, like key players in like every little position, like all around, as far as like a receiver, you could use your tight end. I think Antonio Gates. And then Phillip Rivers, if you go look at his stats, that guy slings the ball all over the place. He's had like a couple games this year, I think he was over 500 yards. That's a lot. And they just have a really terrible record. So I feel like if they can piece their stuff together, I feel like they could be a good contender for the playoffs. Or if you go with Tennessee, they have their quarterback that just needs a little bit of work. Rookie year last year. And they have the number 1 pick this year, and I think they're going to go for Joey Bosa.
The Bosa idea is a nice topic. That's something we'll have to get into another day. As far as the Tennessee Titans going from a worst to first situation or to a contender situation, I would go the Billy Madison route. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. But just because they fired their head coach, new head coach coming in very rarely happens. Second-year quarterback who had trouble staying healthy his first year. They have potential, sure, and I think that eventually they'll get there, but I don't think next year's the year. As far as San Diego, I think San Diego is a solid pick because especially not so much what they're doing as much as no Peyton Manning in Denver. They're going to take a step back. Can Kansas City keep it up? Those two guys step back a little bit. It's going to open the door for them, and they went 6 games or 5 games or 4 games. 4 games, yeah. I was gonna get there eventually.
Keep going, keep going.
So they won 4 games. You steal.
They should have won more than 4 though.
Yeah, you steal 1 game from Denver that season. You steal 1 game from Kansas City that year or last year. Get a couple more. They'll probably They've already said that they are signing this 1-year lease. Their players have come out and said, okay, hey, we're here for a year in San Diego. You want us, you better come out and sell out. So maybe they'll be motivated. But again, it can also go the other way where it's like, screw this, I want to go to LA. I want that Hollywood money. Like
That's the thing I was going to say. The real question is where are they going to be playing next year?
Exactly. For sure they're in San Diego next year.
Yeah.
It's the year after, the one that's really up in the air.
Yeah, I agree. I think San Diego can bounce back. I mean, Rivers is a veteran guy who's been there before, playoff games and that. But for me, I mean, I'll give you two teams real quick. One, okay, maybe because of injury, I'll give you Dallas. Okay, Romo and Des Bryant. I mean, come on.
Possibly Manziel.
Yeah. You know what?
not a chance. There's only
we
two.
could talk about that for
There's
hours.
only 2 places that guy's playing at. It's the Texas Penal League, or it's just on some Canadian football team because he's trying to escape the country.
Or the Bar League.
Or his own fantasy team.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I think Dallas, obviously, they can bounce back. I'm a big Romo fan. I think, he got a taste with that whole Des Bryant catch 2 years ago. That should have been a catch, but I think they end up bouncing back at some capacity, maybe sneak in. I don't think they're going to light the world on fire, but that division isn't that great anyway. I think, if he's healthy, they contend, they make it. But another team, too, I'd watch Jacksonville. I like Blake Bortles, what he's been doing, and, Allen Hurns. And
they got a sick wide receiving core.
They do.
If they can improve that defense just a little bit, I think they can be dangerous.
Yeah, between Hurns and Allen Robinson, I mean, those two guys give you threats. And Bortles, he has some good games. I mean, there was a good stretch where he, throws 5 touchdowns, and then 3 the next week, good stretch like that. So those would be my 2 teams.
Yeah.
And there you go. You got San Diego as a number 3 pick with the defensive line as their top need. And Dallas Cowboys, and they're in need of a cornerback, is what the NFL says. And Jacksonville's got the 5th pick. And they're also in need of a cornerback.
What do you think about this? I was talking to a friend the other day, and this is one of those like wacky scenarios that I don't think will happen, but are definitely in the realm of possibility. So the Cowboys have what pick did you say they have the 4?
They have the 4th pick.
Yeah, yes. They have the 4th pick. What if they decide to go quarterback with that 4th pick? Then take Romo, trade him to Denver, because Denver's going to be looking for a quarterback. Maybe they group, because Osweiler is a free agent or he's restricted in some way. So Denver then packages Osweiler, their 1st-round pick, and maybe like a 3rd, and send it to Dallas, who now has the 4th overall pick, quarterback who they want. Osweiler, if they want a year guy, a late 1st-round pick, which turns out to be the 30th overall, because no, it's the 31st still, because New England lost their pick, and then they also get that 3rd rounder. That's like a pipe dream, because like imagine going from Peyton Manning, like subbing in Tony Romo, who probably is in a better shape than Peyton Manning is at this point, even with all the injuries. There's no reason he couldn't do the same thing, like just be that steady guy who guides that defense. So it was an interesting thing that I just kind of thought of out of the blue. Probably won't happen, but if I'm Denver, I'm checking out this podcast and be like, that's a good idea. Like, let's get that guy on the payroll. Screw his friends because they're idiots, but that one guy.
No, that would be cool. I think I know Denver likes what they've seen from Osweiler, though. That's the thing. I mean, I don't know if they can swing a deal like Romo, though. That's the thing. You can bring in a veteran right away and just go from there.
Because realistic, I think you can get 2 more years out of Romo.
Yeah,
but also Dallas might be in that same scenario because they were a 11-win team the year before without Romo getting all these injuries. They've got a sick offensive line.
I think Jerry Jones has something up his sleeve, though. He's got something. I mean, maybe the whole man's health thing doesn't work out now, but he's got something up his sleeve. He's not. He can't take this, for one season. Yeah, like I said, injuries, but he'll do something.
Yeah, but I fully expect, just to get back to your picks, that Dallas gets back next year. With how weak that division was, and if Kirk Cousins doesn't do what Kirk Cousins did this year, I think Dallas is probably the class of that division.
I've also heard that a report, it's probably a rumor, but Osweiler's got a possibility of landing in Cleveland too.
Yeah, unlikely, just because.
And on this report or whatever, it says other needs: quarterback, running back, defensive tackle for Dallas. So it could be a possibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he moves here, then they have no quarterback. Then they'll go for Romo.
Yeah,
make a draft.
Now to the correct picks of who's going to jump back into next year, aka mine. But no, Dallas was going to be one of my picks, but just for argument's sake, Baltimore, arguably the best GM in football. They'll get Steve Smith back, hopefully for the entire year. I'm not sure what his schedule is with that back, but he was originally retired. Now he said, you know what, I'm coming back. Their first round wide receiver pick or second round wide receiver pick from last year didn't play a single snap due to injury. He'll be back. If he can give them anything, that's another bonus. They showed a decent running game, and that defense is always good. Flacco comes back from his ACL. I think
they had a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah.
That was a bad year for
Baltimore. And I'm curious about the Steelers this year. I hesitate to say they're going to drop off because it's the Steelers and they always do what the Steelers do. Exactly. But so that's an interesting pick for me. But I know this is going to sound bad and this is going to come off as a total homer thing. I have a weird feeling about the Browns. I think the Browns, if they draft like Goff or I don't want the dude out of North Dakota or South Dakota, whatever Dakota you're from. I don't care. You can go back to there.
Take Travis Hafner with you.
Exactly. But they take him. We still have McCown. I think with Hugh Jackson, who is he's a good coach. He took the awful Raiders to 8-8. I'm not saying we're going to be a playoff team, but I could see 7 wins. And if
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I mean,
I really do.
Yeah. It's just like the way you have the feel of the team, and like now you're hoping that they're gonna draft a little better. You're gonna replace those parts on defense that have been useless. You're gonna get a wide receiver in this draft. I can guarantee you that because they've been so torn up about that over the last 2 years because of Farmer.
Yeah, well, you don't have him anymore, so you won't be trading away all your picks.
Exactly. So I think if we get Goff, and this is contingent on them not being awful, or McCown being to the level that he was last year, but we keep him healthy, I think that the Cleveland Browns absolutely have a shot at 7-9. I would never predict it, and
don't bet money on it.
No, yeah. And I fully expect them to be awful. But it's one of those things where if it happened, it absolutely wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I think like you said, Hugh Jackson. I mean, he's going to bring a breath of fresh air in to where you've had those coaches that the experience. I mean, yeah, granted, he wasn't, the 8-8 year with Oakland, but he was, I'll sit out. He did a decent job for the team he had. But, I think, what can you expect? I mean, you only can, how far can you go down? That's the thing. You only can go up from here, you would think. Mm-hmm. But I think another name, and obviously we're going to hear so many rumors between now and the draft before, or, over the next couple months. But I think A.J. McCarron could be another guy that could be a sneaky play, come draft day. I don't know since he's going to give up on him or what, but they're more than likely going to hang on to him because, Dalton's not getting any younger than that too. But maybe he follows Hugh Jackson here. That could be a thing. But,
there had been that rumor that because Jackson had worked with him and he liked what he did.
And also too, you getting Josh Gordon back. That's another whole thing too.
Smokey the Bandit.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Not Smokey and the Bandit because, he stole an entire year from this team. So Smokey the Bandit.
Yeah. So, you would think maybe you got to stay optimistic, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so what do we have next? The Baseball Hall of Fame recently selected its inductees for 2016, and headlining the list was Ken Griffey Jr., receiving the highest percentage of votes for any player in history. This begs the question, while Jr.'s numbers are certainly all-time great levels, he never won a World Series, and his teams post-Seattle never met expectations. Jimmy, does this election mean World Series in baseball don't mean as much as other sports championships? Say, like, Tom Brady has 4 Super Bowls. What are your thoughts?
I think so. I think baseball, maybe, we've been seeing, besides the whole, steroid people that have been, or players that have been on the ballot at least, that have been talked about, but I don't think championships maybe play a big role. I think it's those key numbers, like the 3,000 hits, the 500 home runs. Those are maybe the things that, writers look for, to elect these guys, and I don't know. If you have won a World Series, that's fine. But Griffey, who cares if he didn't win one? He came close. He played against Indiana.
You think Griffey cares that he didn't win one?
I do.
I think deep down.
That's got to be tough.
I think deep down.
Did his dad win one?
I'd have to look.
Yeah.
I'd have to look. But the thing is,
we'll throw that in post.
Yeah. But I think, for as good of a player Griffey was, superstar and, from the defense and off, 5-tool player, I think, it hurts him. He hasn't won, but deep down, no matter what his Hall of Fame plaque says, I don't think it really matters if it's a World Series champion on there or not. He's in bronze for a reason, and he should be. He was one of the elite players of the 90s and early 2000s and that for both Seattle and the Reds. And I like how he did come back to Seattle. I thought that was a good thing for baseball, not just Seattle but baseball in general. You always recognize guys on certain teams, and I thought that was good. But no, I don't. I think maybe it is a little different than, the Super Bowls, like you said, or the NBA wise too, as far as the championships. Those numbers of, LeBron has 2, Kobe has 5, things like that. Yeah. You always look at that. But Griffey wise, nobody's going to care whether, if you compare him to, I don't know, Babe, obviously not like Albert Pujols, let's say, or something like that, like guys in the same generation class, or Jeff Bagwell on the same list. I don't think World Series matters.
Or even when you do, I think I absolutely agree. I think it is different for some reason. Baseball is because baseball is the sport where records are most hallowed. Like, the records are almost more important than like your wins or your World Series or your number of All-Star appearances or anything like that. And I noticed, like I said, when you were talking about Tom Brady, or you hear Tom Brady is introduced, it's the 4-time Super Bowl champion, Tom Brady. Or NBA, like you said, it's the 5-time NBA champion, Kobe Bryant. Nobody really does that in baseball. Now, you do once you get into, like, the greats.
Yeah.
But, like, with, like, Jeter, like, 4-time World Series champion, Derek Jeter. But even in football, like, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Joe Namath. Like, now it goes a little bit more like Hall of Fame quarterback, but different argument. But something that I noticed, or actually I had a friend bring up to me, was, like, you don't do that with the baseball team. You do it. Nobody says Buster Posey, 2-time World Series champion. No, you go Buster Posey, former MVP. Buster Posey, 5-time All-Star, 6-time All-Star, whatever he is now.
Or best catcher in baseball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's different. And to just extend that point a little, it saddens me a little bit. Baseball is my favorite sport. I fully admit that I am biased towards the sport. But in my mind, it's like, all right, what's the most hallowed trophies in sport? The first one is the Stanley Cup. I think everybody would recognize that. The Stanley Cup is the trophy. You think of their players don't even touch the damn thing, in fear that they're gonna curse themselves and stuff like that. And every once in a while, you hear that story in the NBA, he didn't want to touch it, but then you see press things where it's LeBron hugging it before he had won the championship. So, but I feel World Series is starting to move a little bit more down the list. That Super Bowl, it's moving up a little more. I think it's a cooler trophy. If you go by coolness of trophies, I think all those flags is badass, but that's just me. Chris, what are your opinion?
I think that 99.3% of the votes is a outstanding number. And
we're speaking about the percentage of votes that Griffey got, which is, of course, a record.
Yeah. It's I think that if I was Ken Griffey Jr. and I didn't win, World Series or whatever, I think that every player in the MLB, their goal is to obviously win a championship and get into the Hall of Fame. And if you can get at least one of those, a lot of players don't get either or,
Yeah, absolutely.
Very true.
So I think that that's a pretty big accomplishment for him.
Yeah.
Speaking though, I think we all know who's going to beat Griffey one day on that record.
Nope, I have no idea.
Jeter.
No, I don't think so.
Come on. You know he's going to get 100.
I know Jeter's not going to
like it.
No, because there are a lot of people out there who put Jeter far down on the list.
Really?
Yeah. They think he's a product of that ballpark. He's a product of the team that he's had around him, and he's a product of longevity. I think he deserves it. I think the fact that there are that there are no unanimous decisions is insane. You're telling me that who didn't vote for Griffey? Is it because he didn't win a championship?
I don't think so much of that. I think maybe it was, which is a good I don't get it at the time. It's when you see those numbers, who doesn't vote for Griffey? I get that, but I think in order to maybe get that guy on the list that has been, flirting with a good number, that 75%.
Yeah,
I get it in a sense, but you still got to put money. Take somebody else off.
Exactly. There are plenty of players who Maddox. He's not unanimous. Everybody regards him as one of the greatest pitchers of all time. Or even Glavine, he wasn't unanimous. Just players like that. The fact that there should be unanimous. The fact that people just don't vote for people because I'm gonna be different. It's stupid. And
yeah,
I'd almost prefer you didn't even release the percentages.
Yeah, I just don't. The thing is, why have a vote if you're not going to vote correctly?
Yeah,
you're not going to vote the right way.
Yeah,
I'd be honored to have that vote and do that, but I'm not going to leave off Griffey off my list. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I completely agree.
But no, I think if you wanted to talk more about Jeter,
we'll get into it. But
yeah,
we'll save that for another day.
we have to.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm all. You might not disagree with this. Big Papi, where do you follow him? I don't put him in either.
Not in the Hall of Fame.
Nope.
Dude.
He's
a Hall of Famer.
He's a full-time DH. The man doesn't play the field.
Listen.
He plays 1/3 of the game, not even half the game. He's not fielding and he's not pitching. It's the argument putting a closer in. He only does 1 inning. Don't care. He doesn't or naming a pitcher MVP who only pitches in 30 games a year. it happens in those years when it's like, oh, nobody else is really that good, so we're gonna pick a pitcher. But no, only plays 1/3 of the time. Doesn't field, doesn't pitch, hits in an insane hitter's park for his type of player.
But look at where he originally came. I mean, he from Minnesota.
Oh, you mean pre-roids?
Come on. Listen.
Because everybody starts out in Minnesota and is the 12th guy off a bench.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, and then goes to Boston. All of a sudden, Boston. Like, boom! I'm amazing, guys.
It was just a change of scenery. Come on now.
I'm a 50-home run kind of hitter now.
He just wanted to change the scenery.
Yeah. No, it's more like they had better doctors in Boston.
I just think he's just become such an icon, and obviously on a big market team. I mean, you put him on a smaller market team, maybe we won't have that discussion. But he's 500 home runs. He's still got that number. Yeah, the 2-time World Series. Well, let's throw that out because like we said before, it doesn't matter those World Series. Let's throw that out. He still reached that 500 mark though, so. That's where I'm at. I think if you reach that mark, you should be in that debate at least. And I think 15 years to make it 500 home runs, I think come on, he gets in.
He probably does. And like a lot of my opinions aren't like either popular or really feasible. Like, because he's gonna get in. He's respected enough around baseball, and he's a good enough guy. He did get touched a little bit with the steroid stuff, and I fully believe he used. Like, that's my personal opinion. I might get sued eventually because of it, because I'm saying it on the internet, but I have no factual evidence to back this up. It is strictly my opinion. Do not sue me. Yeah. But I don't see it. I think when you can actively discredit parts of a guy's game, there's the same reason. Like, Edgar Martinez is the same player as Big Papi.
That is true.
Like, except for the fact that Papi has 2 rings.
Yeah, you can. I mean,
three rings.
2. Yeah,
no,
3. No, he's got 3. He's got 3. I was thinking
2004, 2007, and 20.
I was thinking Schilling.
11 or 12, 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true though. I can make that comparison as far as Martinez and that.
Because they're both 500 home run guys. They both played mainly DH their entire career.
But I look at it from where the game was with Martinez. Look at the game today. I mean, it's so popular, social media, and it's just so much branded. Whereas Martinez got to start in the late '80s. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, where the game was then. Maybe if Martinez played now, I think he does. So you look at it that way. You can make an argument about that too, but that's just my case as far as Papi.
And finally, we have the only reoccurring segment so far in the podcast. We like to call it the bad feeling of the week. Jim and I each week are going to pick a topic and say why we have a bad feeling about it. For example, Jim, I got a bad feeling about the National League adding the designated hitter full time. The reason I have a bad feeling about it is because I am an old school baseball fan. The National League is my favorite because it's where the real pure form of baseball occurs. It's the double moves, it's the double switches, the picking the lefty versus righty, but knowing you have to take that guy out the next inning because he's going to be in your 3-hole. It's where you're suddenly taking your first baseman out of the game in order to get a pinch runner, and then your pitcher goes to the 2-hole, your guy off the bench goes to the 9-hole, and then the entire game brings a whole new level to it. And I'm going to miss that. I understand why they're doing it, because the league wants more runs. Runs produce numbers. Numbers produce more people in the park. And I understand that. I just wish they were going about it a different way. I'd much rather see them lower the mound by an inch or something like that, like they did back in the Bob Gibson days when he was just too good. I would much rather see that to increase scoring in the game, as opposed to, hey, these classic National League teams like the Cardinals and the Cubs and basically the NL Central, because I love the NL Central, is just doing away with history and going to a format to where things are never going to be the same. But I think I am the outlier for the most part. I thoroughly enjoy a 3-2 game. I don't need to see 8 runs, but I may be wrong. Let's go to Chris because I'm not sure what his opinion is, but I have a guess what Jim's is.
Sometimes the games that are 1-0 wins or whatever, so and they go to the 10th or 11th inning. Sometimes those are the best games, a nice pitching battle. But I also agree with you. I like watching our home team go to go play the Cardinals and they have to throw their pitcher in to hit. I think that's interesting. I like seeing that chemistry or whatever, but like you said, you're not going to see it anymore. That kind of sucks.
Yeah, not to bogart the conversation, but that brings up another point that I like / I know why they do it. The other reason is because more and more of these big-time pitchers these days get hurt running the bases. And it just hurts the image of baseball so much when you go up against other sports because people are like, oh, baseball, like there's not a fun game. There's no contact in that sport. Like nobody's getting their brain beat in. Like they're not even athletes. That guy just goes out and throws the ball a whole bunch. So you're going to make even more of that to where literally Bob Wickman every pitcher. That's all we're gonna have. We're gonna have Bob Wickmans everywhere. Just pot bellies. Like, who gives a shit about being in shape? Because I don't have to run more than 13 feet either way.
Yeah.
So
you rely on your arm and not your legs.
Exactly. I know that's not going to happen. That's an over-exaggeration because people the more athletic you are, the better pitcher generally you are. Because you see guys like Kershaw and Greinke who take fitness and stuff very serious nowadays. But it's just one more factor that I don't need people to be ragging on baseball about.
No, I agree. To be honest, I agree. I like the old school aspect of the game, and I don't even want to play devil's advocate and say I don't. I think, it's just a different way. That's what America's pastime was. That's what people grew up, long time ago, century ago. This is how it was, but then as far as the National League stuff. And I think, not to segue into a different topic, but I think it's very similar is a new rule as far as taking out guys at second base. That new rule implemented too. I think it's just this game has just become so, and I get it. It's safety for you. You look at NFL, it's just not the same game anymore. And I fear baseball is generally turning the same way. I just think
the difference is though, yeah, you can ruin somebody's career by taking out their knee at second base, but you're gonna get one or two of those weird concussion things, like that whole the Buster Posey rule with taking out the catcher. I hate it.
I hate it too. I just was gonna say that because that's what the game is. That's what good old fashioned baseball is. I'm sorry. I love that stuff, and it doesn't put fans in the stands, but that's what makes baseball great and what it is. You're supposed to be. So wait, I'm supposed to just come down the line and think two different. I should have one thing on my mind in that situation is scoring. No matter how, whether I slide head first, whether I plow over the catcher, whether that should be only thought. Not if, well, wait, I got to turn this way because I might get called out, or I gotta, not slide, or the catcher's got to, put the only can block the plate so much. It's like too many different things to do. You're talking split-second reactions as far as second base, too, as far as taking out a guy. Last time I remembered, in high school, they taught you, take out the guy at second base to break up a double play. I'm sorry. That's what I'm teaching my kids to do. So, that's what happens. But it's just becoming so, and I get it, but in a way, me personally, I don't like it. I just don't, but that's just the way it's going to be. 20 years from now, it's only going to be worse.
20 years from now, the sports we have today are not going to be the sports that we're watching.
It's very
be watching flag football.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be flag, but it's going to be something different. It's going to be weird. Baseball's not going to be the same. I think the NBA will end up changing somehow, because they're going to be because they've already talked about adding the 4-point line and things like that. That's a serious discussion. Just feel
half court.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's 38 feet away, something like that. Yeah.
Even you take the as far as fans come into ballpark, is there going to be this whole no foul balls, like this glass infused
That's another thing.
ballpark, because it's just gonna be basically you're gonna watch it from home, because you're not gonna. What is the sense of coming to a ballpark when you can't interact with the fans? You can't catch a foul ball. Yeah, the whole broken bat stuff. Yeah, but it's been like that for how long? It's just.
And they already have the netting too.
Yeah,
so
you only can do so much.
For?
It's not good. I mean, it's sad. It's just really sad how much the game's changing, because this is what America grew up on. It's what America fell in love with, and it's just changing so much. And that's why younger kids, like generations coming up, they'll look for other ways. They're not gonna maybe focus on baseball right off the bat. They'll focus on obviously I think football and basketball now are the two sports, but that's why baseball's becoming maybe taking a step back a little bit, and they have to look at that.
I do wonder if baseball benefits from that going down the line, though, because you hear pro athletes nowadays, because all of them say like, oh, what other sports did you play growing up? Like, you hear a lot of guys in the NFL or the NBA be like, you know what, I really loved baseball. Baseball was my sport, but football gave me more opportunities. Like, I wonder if as this concussion stuff continues to go, if it turns into something where it's like, hey, especially because once you get to the pros, baseball money is way better money. Like,
Exactly.
Maybe not than basketball, but it's all guaranteed. So that'll be interesting going forward.
And basketball is not really like a sport where you get too hurt with. I mean, basically the only way is like fouls.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you take like a bad foul call, but I mean, there's nothing you could really do to prevent that,
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is, when you're an athlete, you take risks. Just stepping on those lines every day. You can tweak something, taking a ground. You can get hurt no matter what you're doing. That's who you are. You sign up to be an athlete for a reason, and you only can manage it so much. But I just don't think they're just changing it too much. Like it's just like, obviously instant replay, that's a good thing. You change the game in a benefit way. You want to get the right call, but other little things, they just need to be left alone.
Mm-hmm. And back to like what he was saying, like when he was taught, take out the guy at second base to break up a double play. If you're the second baseman, you should know already that guy's coming in to break up a double play. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not like he's blinded by it. He knows it's coming.
All right, everybody, that was our show for today. I certainly hoped you liked it. And if you did, please like this video and subscribe to the I've Had Better Podcast Network. Also, please follow us on Twitter at IHB Podcast and like us on Facebook at I've Had Better Podcast. Jimmy, tell the people how to find you.
Follow me at Birdman Clee. That's at Birdman CLE. Or you can read some of my recent articles I wrote for IndiansBaseballInsider.com.
You can find me at Sloat Chris. That's my Twitter handle, or Chris Sloat at Facebook. Also check out our website at www.ihbpodcast.com to see more content.
Thanks. And I am Dominic Demore. You can find me both on this podcast, the IHB Sports Podcast, and the IHB Movie Podcast, which I host with Jimmy Langos. And both of these men, I'm sure, will be appearing on. You can find me at Dom Demore on Twitter. That's at DOMDEMORE. And please follow us. Thanks. Jim, how was the show today?
I've had better.
Good night, everybody.